person filled with inspiration. So much so that every single time an inspirational movie comes out, my husband is quick to get tickets. It's not only because he likes to see me inspired, but Terrence likes to see me cry throughout the movie so he can turn into Sinclair James from Living Single and go, woo, 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 woo. Since I'm inspired by movies, in August of 2012, my sorority sisters and I got tickets to see the movie Sparkle, which was the last movie Whitney Houston starred in before she passed away. We had just finished our first year of law school. As Sparkle progressed and ultimately ended, I knew this was the last time I would be with my girls before they returned for their second year of law school. See, I had just been academically dismissed. And they knew this, so knowing this, before we walked out of the theater, I turned to them and told them that although I was the only one from our study group who would not be returning for her second year of law school, I wanted them to be great. I wanted them to do what they were called to do and do amazing things. I knew I needed to clap. That was hard, though. I was struggling with this feeling of how could I be happy for them and hurt for myself at the same time. Having this feeling of being the awkward one, the odd man out. The elephant. What's an elephant? They're heavy, they're big, and if we're honest, sometimes they stink. That was my moment. While I clapped, it was still heavy. It was a big moment for them, but it stunk for me. When we talk about addressing the elephant in the room, normally there's a negative connotation to that because it's the thing that's standing right in front of you that clearly no one wants to talk about, or it's a feeling of tension, if you will. But I want to challenge us all on looking at the positive side of addressing the elephant in the room. Elephants are the largest land animal. They stick together. And if you're the female, the woman, they lead the pack. No matter how hard they try, an elephant can't control their size or their stature because that's how they were created. They have the longest gestational period of any living species, which is up to 22 months, and when they're ready to give birth, depending on the gender of their baby, they can birth a baby calf weighing between 200 to more than 300 pounds. Unique, right? Awkward. Yes? Elephant. When I was in law school, I had a unique, odd, awkward, yet creative way of approaching my finals. Chance, dancing, and visual interpretation is how I would memorize stuff, and I would often act out my stories so people could visualize and memorize what I was saying. Poetry came natural to me, so I wrote a rap for my contracts final because if you had my professor, you knew this final was going to be hard. And I needed something in addition to prayer that was going to help save my soul with this final. So I wrote a rap to the instrumental of Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang. It's one of my mom's favorite songs, so I was pretty familiar with the song. So I wrote the rap, I performed it for myself, and then I went to my professor's office and performed it for her. With tears in her eyes, she said, "Of all the years I've been teaching law, no one has ever rapped all the contract's general rules and exceptions to me." During my final, the term offer was being tested. I had a slight moment of panic, and then I said to myself, an offer is how it sounds, a present intent to be bound, acceptance count, 1 through 7, common law, or 207. I did that throughout my entire final. All I kept saying was, Chenae, girl, C's get degrees. That's all you need. I got a C. And I was proud. I went on to become academically dismissed after my second semester of law school. It wasn't because my study tactics and raps didn't work or I was incapable of graduating. It's just life kept lifing. I had only maintained a 1.89 grade point average when I needed to maintain a 2.0 to return. And in June of 2012, I accepted that I wasn't going back to law school yet. So in August of 2012, when we went to see Sparkle, I knew I needed to clap because it wasn't my time yet. Have you ever felt like you were the biggest mistake, the biggest challenge, the greatest opportunity, and the greatest thing that ever happened to people all at the same time? Like, you ever find yourself apologizing to people who are intimidated by your stature and your confidence, the fact that you didn't allow a not yet to become a never? Or you could be carrying something that other people just don't understand? Hi, my name is Chenae, and I've accepted that I'm the elephant in the room. You may be too. My mom always says, Pook, you are hard to manage because your presence holds people accountable. You being successful is not contingent upon you succeeding first. It's in you to push people in front of you, stand with them, clap with them, celebrate with them, but when it's your turn, they should do the same for you. It's also in you to have light in spite of those not right now moments, those moments of carrying your 200 to 300-pound miracles, being forced to pivot but succeeding in spite of it. So in August of 2012, when we went to see Sparkle, I knew I needed to clap. Because in August of 2013, when it was my time, I was readmitted. I watched them graduate, take and pass the bar, and become successful attorneys. Did I graduate? Yes. Did I take the bar multiple times? Yes. But did I pass? No. That was hard. I watched them go to conferences, hearings, learning sessions, have conversations I couldn't even be a part of. Like, how could I be the only one from my study group who didn't go back to school when everybody else did, and now the only one from my study group who is not a licensed attorney? Again, feeling odd, awkward. Elephant. There's an article written by Morgan Lynch called 4 Things You Didn't Know an Elephant Does for You. One of those things is that elephants are ecosystem engineers, meaning they eat plants and fruits and they take the seed from their food and they spread it around the forest somewhere trees can grow. Because they travel long distances, they push trees out of the way so smaller animals can survive. When it rains and they take a step, because their footprint is so large, that rain and their footprint create a puddle so smaller animals can drink from it if they don't have water holes near where they live. So they excavate water holes and they fertilize land. Simply put, wherever an elephant goes, it leaves its mark. It was my dream to become an attorney, but it didn't happen. That I accepted. I went into a career in human resources, built a brand around recruiting, and became a recruiter. I helped so many people get jobs that now I sit on the same panels as my law school professors. My contracts professor would even ask me to come back to her class and recite the same rap that once relaxed my panic during my final. I was an attorney helping other aspiring attorneys prepare to pass the bar, even though I could not pass the bar. And those same people who I clap for, those same people who are now successful attorneys, they come to me for job-seeking advice when they're ready for their next opportunity. I went back to the place where I thought I failed, but it was a place where I left my mark, my footprint. Elephant. My mom. When my mom was 12, my mom rode her bike and she was hit by a drunk driver. She fell. She crushed her uterus, broke her hip. Because she broke her hip, she now walks with a limp. The doctor told her that because she crushed her uterus, she would never be able to have kids. 14 years later, my mom birthed a baby girl left-handed and bore 1 2 teeth. My mom became a social worker, then later a CNA, helping the elderly in the later stages of their lives. And while this was her day job, my mom utilized these skills at night to care for my grandmother until my grandmother ultimately passed away from cancer. My mom was able to do that what the doctor told her she could not do. She was able to carry that which an elephant bears, weight. My Aunt Portia, my mom's sister, who was micromanaged by a leader who didn't know policy, standards, and procedures like my aunt did. In spite of being reported multiple times, my aunt created community gardens, programs, and a safe place for at-risk youth to learn. At one point, my aunt was only one of 2 black women who held the supervisor of educational programs position for the New Jersey educational system. She was a shield for her staff to the wrath of her supervisors because they thought the little black girl from Camden, New Jersey didn't know anything. Clearly, I come from a line of women who wouldn't take no for an answer, who has some heavy, big, stinky stuff happen to them. So consider those places wherever they may be, are places where you may have been left behind. You may have felt like you needed to clap for others, or better yet, you could have been the heavy, big, stinky, beautiful, awkward, odd, brave, brilliant, most audacious thing. The very thing that pushes trees out of the way so other people can see a pathway through. You may have been the elephant, the one who won't take no for an answer, or better yet, the example. So while you may be clapping for others now, keep clapping, because your time is coming. Oh, and don't worry about fitting in, because elephants never do. All we do is leave our footprint, our mark, and keep it moving. Elephant.